Our battle of chapter 10 is what it talks about. David defeats Ammon, which is of course Syria, Jordan today. So David defeats Ammon, which is, like I said, Jordan in Syria. After this, the king of the Ammonites died, and Hanan, his son, reigned in his place. And David said, I will deal loyally with Hanan, the son of Nahash, as his father dealt loyally with me. So David sent by his servants to console him concerning his father. And David's servants came into the land of the Ammonites. But the princes of the Ammonites said to Hanan, their lord, do you think because David has sent comforters to you that he is honoring your father? Has not David sent his servants to you to search the sea and to spy it out and to overthrow it? So Hanan took David's servants and shaved off half the beard of each, and cut off their garments in the middle at their hilts, and sent them away. When it was told David, he sent to meet them, for the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, remain at Jericho until your beards have grown, and then return. When the Ammonites saw that they had become a stench to David, the Ammonites sent and hired the Syrians at Beth-Harab and the Syrians of Zobah, 20,000 foot soldiers, and the king of Makkah with 1,000 men, and the men of Tob 12,000 men. And when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the host of the mighty men. And the Ammonites came out and drew up in battle, arrayed at the entrance to the gate. And the Syrians of Zobah and Rehob and the men of Tob and Makkah were by themselves in the open country. When Joab saw that the battle was set against him both in front and in the rear, he chose some of the best men of Israel and arrayed them against the Syrians. The rest of his men he put in charge of Abishai, his brother, and he arrayed them against the Ammonites. And he said, if the Syrians are too strong for me, ye shall help me. But if the Ammonites are too strong for you, then I will come and help you. Be of good courage, and let us be courageous for our people and for the seeds of our God, and may the Lord do what seems good to him. So Joab and the people who were with him drew near to battle against the Syrians, and they fled before him. And when the Ammonites saw the Syrians fled, they likewise fled before Abishai and entered the city. Then Joab returned from fighting against the Ammonites and came to Jerusalem. But when the Syrians saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they gathered themselves together. And Hadazar sent and brought out the Syrians who were beyond the Euphrates. They came to Helam with Shobach, the commander of the army of Hadazor, at their head. And when it was told David, he gathered all Israel together and crossed the Jordan and came to Helam. The Syrians arrayed themselves against David and fought with him. And the Syrians fled before Israel, and David killed the Syrians, the men of 700 chariots and 40,000 horsemen, and wounded Shobach, the commander of their army, so that he died there. And when all the kings who were servants of Hadazor saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they made peace with Israel and became subject to them. So the Syrians were afraid to save the Ammonites anymore. So basically, God helped David here by David making peace with the Syrians. Because what had happened was Syria and Jordan were going to come together to go against Israel. Well, whenever Syria seen Jordan fleeing out of fear from Israel, Syria made peace with Israel, and that's really it, pretty much. Chapter 10 was that basically, like I said, Jordan and Syria came together to come against Israel, and Syria seen Jordan fleeing out of fear from Israel, and then Syria made peace with Israel. So that's chapter 10. They have a map here real quick. Let's see. It says David defeats the Ammonites and the Syrians in 995 BC. After purposely humiliating ambassadors sent by David, the Ammonites prepared for David's response by calling for help from the king of Makkah, of the men of Tob, and the Syrians living in Beth-Harab and Zobah. When David's commander Joab defeated these forces, the Syrians called for more troops from beyond the Euphrates River and attacked David at Helam. David's forces defeated them again, and the Syrians became subjects to Israel. Meaning the Syrians became servants again to Israel, because Israel had defeated them. But they also made peace after the battle, so that the Syrians could be the servants of Israel, so that Syria wouldn't be destroyed. So they have a map here. It says Ammonite alliance gathers for battle, which was up in Lebo Hamath, or which is Zobah, which is actually Syria today. They march all the way down to Damascus. So Lebo Hamath would have been northern Syria, and then they would have marched all the way down to Damascus. And David's forces attack the Ammonite alliance, which is Jordan, and they start over in Jerusalem. They go past they go through the Jordan River over into Jordan to fight them at Rabbah. And the Syrians beyond the Euphrates attack at Helam. They come over from the Euphrates River over through Damascus down to Helam, where David's forces defeat the Syrians at Helam. So here's the map of this. So again, God helped David defeat the Syrians in Jordan, and also Syria seen Jordan running out of fear from Israel, and then Syria made peace with Israel to be their servants. So here's a map of that. Right there, you see that. So anyway, that's that, and I'll be right back with chapter 11 here in a few.